Hey, everybody. Hope you are doing well. Hope you had a good weekend enjoying the NFL playoffs. One game remaining at about an hour from now, as you've got the Vikings and the Rams. Mike McCarthy will not be back as the Dallas Cowboys coach. So the Cowboys are going in a different direction. You've got the Kings, who are on absolute fire. They take on the Bucks coming up tomorrow to close out the trip where they can win their eighth in a row. They are now ninth in the West and making great progress with this win streak. So if you want to talk about that, we can do so. We've got a lot going on, but of course, right now, the NFL taking center stage with the playoffs. What stood out to you over the weekend in the National Football League? What do you think was the most impressive aspect of the NFL weekend? Then you've got college. You got Ohio State and Notre Dame getting ready to play for the Natty with the college football playoff 12-team format almost in the books for the first time. And I think if you look back at everything going on right now in college football was the seeding. It just didn't seem to make a lot of sense, that Oregon had to go play Ohio State that early in the format, as the number one team in the country. So that's a little odd. But, if you're going to win the Natty, you got to win. You got to beat teams anyway, right? But that seemed like an unlucky and unfavorable draw for the Oregon Ducks. Of course, you could also say same old story for Oregon. They just don't. They're not able to win the big game. It seems like, right? So we'll see. All right. What about the game tonight? The Vikings and the Rams. This is certainly an unfortunate situation if you are a fan of the Rams. But I also would like to say this about the Rams. Pro football in Los Angeles has been horrible. Let's just call it the way it is. Awful. And so I'm not crying about the Rams having to play a playoff game outside of their quote unquote home stadium, SoFi. The situation that has unfolded and is still unfolding in Los Angeles is sad beyond words. And the Rams don't seem to have any issue about having to play in Arizona. They've handled it about as well as you can handle it from a professional organization point of view. They've been great. So, football right now is at best secondary to what's going on in Los Angeles. But the Rams, who very often have more fans rooting for the opposition than them, it's not a big deal. All right? I mean, and I know when the 49ers play the Rams down in Los Angeles, the place is full of 49er fans. When they played in the playoffs, the place is full of 49er fans. So I'm not going to gripe, if I'm a Rams fan, that they're losing this great home field advantage. They don't have a home field advantage anyway. They just don't. They don't. So I think if you're looking at this from, who has an advantage, to me, this game comes down to Sam Darnold. Is Sam Darnold going to have a bounce back game? Because let's face it, Sam Darnold was terrible last week. He was awful. Absolutely awful. You can't really argue that. He was terrible. He was not very good. All right, again, if you want to get in on the program, you've got the QR code above my shoulder. You've got everything else that you need. Here is the link. Again, if you want to call, please do that. All right? Give me a call. What do you want to talk about today? We can talk NFL. We can talk Sacramento Kings. We can talk about whatever else you want. All right? There's the link right there. Again, tomorrow, Kings, Bucks, pregame show with Rhino, halftime with Jerry, and the postgame show with your phone calls. All right? Niners haven't won a championship since Steve Young. It's been a while. been a while. Same with the Cowboys. They haven't won since Troy Aikman. They're not close to winning. That's when you have Jerry Jones as your owner, you've got real issues. You got real issues. Real issues. Talk about the 9 weeks before that, Grant. What 9 weeks are you referring to? What sport are you referring to? What subject are you referring to? My thoughts on Carter and his current role. Very good defensive player. Offense is a work in progress, but could certainly play defense. No question. The Ravens and the Bills, impressive wins. They're two good teams. We know that. And both of those teams could beat Kansas City, although I'm not saying they will. But that would definitely, whoever wins that game coming up on Sunday, the Chiefs are good. What a great draw. They got a week off and they play Houston, whereas Baltimore has to play Buffalo. That will be a heck of a game coming up Sunday, the Ravens and the Bills. That will be an absolute dandy. Do I think the Kings will make the playoffs? I don't know. The goal is not to be a play-in team. The goal is to make the playoffs. So we'll see. They still have, they're not going to go undefeated the rest of the year. So we'll see. I think a lot's going to depend on health. A lot is going to depend on health. Oh, Sam Darnold and the Vikings 9-game streak is what you're referring to. Well, what do you want me to refer to with the 9-game winning streak? I'm only going by what I saw in the last game, and Sam Darnold was terrible. Vikings are good. I acknowledge they're good. They won 14 games. They're good. But Sam Darnold better play better than he did last week. That was not a good performance. And I think he'll play good tonight. He had a very good season. And, Jefferson's got to have a big game. The defense for the Vikings is very good. The Rams, I don't know what kind of distractions they've had to deal with all week. In other words, I can't even imagine. Said the Knicks had a nice bounce back win against the Bucks yesterday. The Knicks need to work on getting to that next level. Should the Kings kept Kevin Huerter? I don't know whether they should or not, but I think they're going to move him if they can at the trade deadline. My early prediction, do I have the Ravens or the Bills? I haven't checked the weather forecast. That's the first thing I'm going to do. It's only Monday. I'll make my decision a little bit later in the week. Right now, I'm inclined to go with Buffalo. Now, they played earlier in the year, and Baltimore jumped all over them in Baltimore. But the Bills had a lot of key players out of that game, and all those key players are back. So, Kings finally getting pub on sports media. Who cares? You know what the pub is? The standings. Who cares if they're getting publicity or not? That's how I look at it. Don't worry about whether the Kings are getting publicity or not. Who cares? Seriously, what difference does it make? Don't worry about it. It's not that important. What's important is you keep winning. Hey, I want to tell you about Sunrise Landing. This is a great residential community in Colusa. You go to ColusaSunrise.com. You get all the information you need from Blazona Development. And, you look at all these different models. Remember, there's no Melrose. There's no homeowners. It's great location. Across from the Colusa Golf and Country Club. Good access to the major roads like I-5, Highway 45, Highway 20. Go to ColusaSunrise.com. Get all the information on Sunrise Landing. Again, we've got football coming up. The Rams, the Vikings. Let's get to Eli. And let's see here. Hang on a moment. Eli, how are you, sir? Good to have you on today.
Hey, Grant. How are you doing, man?
How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. What can I do for you?
Hey, so about the Kings, at this point, is it safe to say that it is mostly the coaching change that's accounting for this winning streak, or is the jury still
Well,
out on?
you got to acknowledge that Doug's doing a hell of a job. He's 7-1. I think that during the first part of the win streak, I thought they were very fortuitous with all the injuries that their opponents had. But Boston was completely healthy and they steamrolled them. So, but they got lucky against Dallas. They got lucky against Philly. They got lucky against Memphis. They got lucky against Miami. Let's just call it the way it is. But the Boston game, that was a signature win. That was a big time win for the Kings. Big time.
Yeah, I was reading some stuff in the media today about how he was doing some little things like in practice, he's not practicing them as hard as Mike Brown and he's taking it easy on them and now they have fresher legs for the games. And so I don't know if it's just things like that because he used to be a player and he knows things about that and the players
That's Rick Adelman. That was Rick Adelman. That's exactly how
okay.
Rick Adelman coached the team. They didn't practice hard. They had a lot of days off, and I think that Doug's taking a page out of Rick Adelman's book with that.
So Grant, do you think that the league is starting to notice? Like, I know that when Mike Brown was first fired, there was that discussion among coaches and among the league where Sacramento was the laughing stock, and everybody was saying, "Wow,
Yep.
how could they do this?" I mean, is the league kind of taking a second look and saying, "Well, gee, maybe it's not so
Yeah,
bad
of
in
course they are.
Sacramento"?
Right now, of course, that's a great question. Right now, of course they are. Uh, here's the issue that I have. The Kings aren't going to go on a losing streak again. It may not be more than 2 games, but eventually they're going to lose 2 games. And when they do, how's the team going to react? Are they going to stay together? Are they going to go, oh, here we go again? They still have a very difficult schedule coming up. So the win streak is great. They've climbed back into contention of being relevant, but they're not out of the woods yet.
What's your prediction as far as how do you think this will shake out with? Do you think they're still going to try to move Fox, or do you think that I guess how do you think that this is going to impact trade talks and how they approach that moving forward?
I still think that if they're able to move Fox and get a deal that they feel makes the team better for now and particularly in the future, I think they'll do it. I really do.
And as far as their playoff chances, you think it's kind of like the jury's out, like maybe
Well,
50-50 or something like that?
I think health is going to determine all of that. And I think that's true of all the teams that are right around them. I think the team that has the best health the rest of the way will be the teams that emerge and are playing past the middle of April. I really believe that. That's how balanced the Western Conference is.
Yep, makes sense. Okay, thanks, Grant. Nice seeing you again.
Hey, Eli, thank you, buddy. Good seeing you too. Appreciate it. I think health's going to go a long way. I think when you look at, the standings in the West, clearly that is going to factor into it. We'll see. But again, back to Eli's question, that's how Rick Adelman coached. Rick was a firm believer in that. Rick did not practice very long and very often gave the guys a day off. So I'm sure that's where Doug's getting that from. I really do. Do you think Herter should and will keep losing minutes to Ellis? I think that if he starts off a game poorly, then yes. How about my Commanders? Feels good. I got to tell you, Jaden Daniels is so smooth and so fun to watch. They're going to be good for a long time as long as he stays healthy. He's really good. He's really good. I think when you look at that division right now, the Giants are so far behind. I believe Dallas is not close. Washington and Philly are going to be battling this out for the next couple of years. It'll be very interesting to see who Dallas gets to be their coach. Going to be very interesting. Napes, do you favor the NFL going to a different playoff system? Higher seed gets the home game. I think it devalues the division winner. Yes and no. Like if you look at the NFC North, by far the best division of football this year, not even close. NFC West, arguably the worst division of football this year. One team won 14 games, another team won 10. Shouldn't the team with 14 wins be playing at home? I mean, if you win the division, you get a playoff spot. That's automatic. But should you get a home game with 10 wins playing against a 14-win team? I don't think so. I don't think so. Would I give Purdy $50 million? I'd give him whatever the market value is. So yes, I would. You know. Let's talk some Kings, Grant. Did I not just talk some Kings for about 5 minutes, or were you like? Did you just join the stream? And do you have a question for me? I'd be happy to answer your question. Who do I like for the Raiders head coaching job? It's a good question. I don't know for sure, but Mark Davis better not hire the guy. Domas's three-point percentage has increased tremendously. His shot has never looked better. He's playing great. He's playing great. If he's not on the All-Star team, there ought to be an investigation. My Denver Broncos didn't make me feel good yesterday. Sherry, don't worry about it. They're going to be fine. They got a good young quarterback. They were playing in a very difficult situation. You didn't expect them to really go in and win at Buffalo, did you, Sherry? And I hope you're doing well. Thanks very much. But I know they didn't make you feel good, but the year that they had, they really made great strides. They really came a long way. They came a long way. Grant, love watching you for years on Kings broadcast. In your opinion, is Sabonis as important to the Kings as Weber was back in the day? I think he's more important, to be honest with you. He's really good. He's really good. And he's a much better team player, and he's not a guy that's running to grab the box sheet, and he's not a guy that gets upset if he has 15 points and 8 rebounds. He's the real freaking deal. Vikings versus the Rams. I'm picking Minnesota by a whisker. What should the Steelers do at quarterback next season? I got to tell you, what happened to the Steelers at the end of the season to me is unbelievable. How they fell apart. They just were. They were terrible offensively in the last 5 games. Terrible. Terrible. You know what's not terrible? Bennett's. Check out Bennett's restaurants, folks, whether it's Sacramento, Roseville, or the West Side Grill in Rockland. Prime seafood and steak at Bennett's. It's awesome. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com to make a reservation. Don't forget about their weekend brunch, their daily happy hour, sips and taste, every day, 2 to 6. Great prices on share plates and wines. You know, they have 60 plus different types of wine available by the glass. That's incredible. Again, Bennett'sRestaurants.com, prime seafood and steak. Make your reservation now. Brian and the staff do a marvelous job. Sacramento, Roseville, and the West Side Grill in Rockland. Don't forget, you've got, all right, big-time football coming up in a little bit. Very true. Your Broncos have a bright future. Pick up a few pieces on offense to help Knicks. Absolutely. Can the Chiefs be stopped? They look pretty good, don't they? They just know how to win. You know, they know how to win. I can't imagine them losing to Houston. You know? Do I think Fox deserves the Supermax? No, I do not. Giants 2025 out of division home schedule looks brutal as of now. Kansas City, Green Bay, San Francisco, Minnesota, and the Chargers. I don't really pay attention to that stuff because schedules change. Strength of schedule changes based on an injury. Quarterback gets hurt, all of a sudden things look different. I've never really looked at that much. I just don't. Largest dead cap hit in NFL history, and Sean Payton leads the Broncos to the playoffs. Great point. Very good point. What happened to Kenny Thomas on NBC Sportsnet? I have no idea. Is he not? I don't ever watch it, so I don't know. Is he not on anymore? I have no idea. I couldn't tell you who's on or care. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. Hoping that the Kings trade for John Collins. Monk would love playing with him. Do we have the assets? Probably not, but we'll see. Kings are crashing the boards hard. They are scrambling and hustling, but it's a cohesive unit, very poised. Very true. Very true. And we'll see if they can continue the win streak tomorrow against the Bucks. And remember, we got all the coverage for you right here on If You Don't Like That, with the pregame, halftime with Jerry, and your phone calls on the postgame shows. Do I believe that there are more doors or more wheels in the world? I've never thought about that. What about you? Just guessing, I would say wheels, but never really thought about it. Who is my favorite broadcasting team in the NBA right now? I don't have one. There are many good ones. I don't have one right now. If I had to guess, I would say Iron Eagle and whoever else is working with Iron. I think Iron's great. I love Iron. He does a great job. Kings don't need to trade. They can beat any team. They need to stay healthy. I don't know if I would agree with that. I don't know if I would agree with that. Kings look like they're having fun, like some kind of weight was lifted off them. When you win, you have fun. That's for sure. Wheels all day, says John. I would agree. I would agree. Just think about all the airplanes. Think about how many wheels are on an airplane. Think about all the planes around the world. Think about all the cars, all the trucks. Yeah, I got to believe it's wheels too. Thank you, John, for chiming in, buddy. Do I have a Larry Bird or a Magic Johnson story? I got a lot of Larry Bird stories. I have a picture of me and Larry in 1988 standing at the center court at Boston Garden, which is a pretty cool photo. But Larry did the Jerry Reynolds show with us at Channel 31 when he was in Sacramento. You got to understand, this is before cell phones, before social media. And Larry came to the studio to do a show with Jerry and me. And there were people lined up outside waiting to see Larry. And we're like, how did people know that Larry Bird was coming to the Channel 31 studios? So trading Fox literally means you have no closer for the next 6 to 8 years. Zach, you've had Fox now for 8 years and you haven't won a playoff series. So I'm not worried about it. I'm sorry. I like Fox. I think he's a good player, very good player, but it's not like he's not, it's not like you can't move him. It's not like you have to have, I mean, again, he's been with the team 8 years. They haven't won a playoff series. They've only been in one playoffs. Herbert was awful, Riley. You are correct. He was terrible. More picks than the entire regular season. He was awful in that game. Terrible. No doubt about that. As far as the doors and the wheels, I don't care. Like, I'm doing a sports show. I should have said that in the first place. Do I really care whether there are more doors or wheels in the world? Like, who cares? Like, are you getting caught up in that stuff? Is that where your life's at right now? Get a freaking life, would you please? How cool was that pick? It's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. And he was not in his uniform. He was, this was before the game. And it was my first year of doing the games. And it was great. It was great. All right, again, if you want to get in on the program, if you want to call, you can do so. I'll hit that link up for you. And we're not going to go that long today. I want to get in and out for a 30-minute show or so. Talk a little bit about the Kings, the NFL, and everything else. Don't forget that tomorrow, I am looking for a rant with Grant on the postgame show brought to you by EDH Motors. Automotive reimagined. You go to edhmotors.com. You can check out everything that David and Adam can do for you. This is a long overdue new concept. Just two guys trying to do something different and better And when you go to edhmotors.com, you'll look at the inventory and what they have available. But here's the key. If you don't find what you're looking for, they'll get it for you. With their decades of automotive experience, they will get what you're looking for. And you'll take delivery at the beautiful Auto Lounge in El Dorado Hills Town Center, so you don't ever have to go to a dealership. You don't have to deal with all of that. I think you're going to really enjoy this new concept. Once again, go to edhmotors.com. And don't forget, tomorrow, I am looking for a rant with Grant on the postgame show. What do you think? Kings win? They beat the Bucks, who are coming off a loss to the Knicks. Ravens or Bills, Grant, who do you think will win? I'm going to give you my pick a little bit later in the week. I want to wait and see what the weather is. That's always key. Am I okay with the Giants keeping Joe Shane and Brian Daboll? I am. I give them one more year. Best Arco Arena moment ever. For me, it was Game 3, Sonics Kings 95, after the Kings had won Game 2 in Seattle. When the Kings took the floor for that Game 3, their first playoff home game at Arco, it's the most amazing scene I've ever witnessed anywhere in sport. That, to me, was the most amazing moment. My rant should be on Herder. I'm not going to rant on anything with the Kings right now. They've won 7 in a row. Can I get an interview with Scott Pollard or Reggie Theus or any other old-time Kings? I've interviewed both several times on my podcast, both available for you if you go to Apple, Spotify, or whatever, and or my website, grantnapier.com, or if you don't like that.com. I've had Reggie on my podcast. I've had Scott on my podcast several times, including this format on YouTube. So check it out. It's there for you. All right. I love both those guys. Big fans of both of them. Scott's a dear friend of mine, and I consider Reggie a very good friend of mine. Thank you very much for the super chat. Thank you very much. Keep it up. Yes, indeed. Scott's one of my very best friends in life. We stay in touch and text several times a week. Reggie, not so much, but like if I wanted to get Reggie on the program, I could send Reggie a message right now and go, "Hey, how you doing? You want to come on the show?" And he would say, "Yeah, whatever you need." I love Reggie. One of my old-time favorite Sacramento Kings. Scott is doing very well with his heart. He's doing very well. He just had a very good checkup at Vanderbilt Hospital last week with his biopsy, and everything came out great. His body's accepting his heart beautifully. It's working very well, and he is doing well. And I know he would be very happy that you're asking about him. So thank you. He is doing very well. It's coming up on his 1-year anniversary. I can't believe that. I just can't believe it. February, I want to say 16th, I think. Pretty amazing. I'll never forget being in the intensive care room with him and Dawn 18 hours after getting his heart. I'll never ever forget that moment, that scene, and all the details surrounding that. One of the most unbelievable, great life experiences I've ever had. Cody says, I had heard Susan Waldman watching Yankee games, but learning about her on your podcast, I grew a deeper respect for her. She is great. Cody, do you know that I've had Susan on my podcast twice? And I honestly will tell you that they are both two of my very favorite interviews I've ever done, ever. Susan Waldman, her presence on my podcast was phenomenal. I'm glad you feel that way because she is great. Absolutely. Why did OP take so much heat from the Kings fans? I was young and I followed the Kings, but I never quite understood why fans hated him. Hate's a strong word. I don't think they hated him. He was very eccentric, Very, he was a different guy. I had him on my podcast too, by the way. Love the man. And we went at it and we had our moments, but I have a lot of respect for him. But he was different. That's about all I can say. But I'll tell you, he played hard every game. He played hard every game. Better commentator, Romo or Brady? I don't care for either of them. I think Romo is terrible. Brady is nowhere near worthy of a number one seat. But I can't stand Tony Romo as a commentator. I think he's awful. Susan has a wealth of stories, maybe the best I've ever heard from anybody in the sports industry. I don't know of anyone that's got better stories than her. I really don't. Amazing. Speaking of amazing, that's New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you. They're available around the clock. You go to sackserviceplumbing.com or call the number on your screen, or you can go to newworksplumbing.com, NEWWRXplumbing.com. New Works Plumbing, they're available 24/7 for your plumbing needs and repairs. Again, New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. All right, again, big game. Wrap up week 1 of the playoffs. Rams, Vikings. Don't forget tomorrow. All right, we've got the Kings and the Bucks pregame show, halftime show with Jerry, and the postgame show where we invite your phone calls. We'll see if the Kings can keep it going. And I also want to say thank you to the thousands of you that have joined us for the Kings programming. Our numbers continue to go higher and higher and higher, and I am grateful for that. I'm speaking for Ryan as well. Appreciate the heck out of all of you. Even the people that irritate me, I still appreciate you. It's all good. I just want to say thank you. All right, enjoy the football tonight. Enjoy it. Rams, Vikings in Arizona. And I look forward to talking to everyone tomorrow right here on If You Don't Like That. Bye-bye now.